Jane, you're in Cape Town, where the World Economic Forum starting in Africa today. There's lots of high-level delegates there, and this racist violence is quite embarrassing for South Africa.
Totally embarrassing. I mean, international investment is what this country needs at the moment, more than anything, to kickstart a very moribund economy. And the World Economic Forum is taking place in Cape Town, South Africa's most beautiful city, the jewel in the crown. And yet set against this beautiful backdrop is these incredible days of lawlessness that everyone is talking about. The violence that we've seen prompted a sharp rebuke from the government of Nigeria, who said enough is enough. Their people in South Africa are the targets, the primary targets of this lawlessness. The authorities in Ethiopia and Zimbabwe and Zambia have also warned their people to be on their guard. And Zambia has even cancelled a friendly soccer match against South Africa on Saturday in protest at what it sees is targeting of foreign nationals. So very, very embarrassing start to the World Economic Forum. And Cyril Ramaphosa really has been criticised for what is seen as weak leadership over this. We've had days and days of lawlessness, of anarchy. And it was only yesterday afternoon, Tuesday, that he came out and condemned what was going on. So I think there really is a lack of leadership, which has only really served to fuel the sense of unrest and chaos and mayhem that's sort of engulfed, the biggest cities in our country.
Jane, what's the situation like at the moment in regard to the violence, and what prompted this spate of xenophobic attacks?
Well, there always seems to be a proxy reason given. So, for example, last week we had xenophobic attacks in Pretoria, and the taxi drivers, the people who run the very lucrative minibus taxi routes, they said they were taking matters into their own hands because of Nigerian drug dealers, because they said the police were taking bribes, were doing nothing, and they started that. In Johannesburg, there was some sort of reason given about a building occupation by illegal immigrants. So there really is always a very sort of superficial reason given, but it is really a boiling up of a huge amount of anger that we see festering in our poorest areas in South Africa, deep frustration about deepening inequality, rising levels of poverty and joblessness, people whose lives really haven't improved, and in fact, in many cases, have got worse over recent years, and a growing frustration that the police are strained, that criminals aren't being caught, that just sense of general lawlessness, and so it just spills over. And the foreigners are easy targets. There's 5 million of them in South Africa, and it's very easy to blame them for a shortage of housing and a shortage of jobs, because those foreigners who do come to South Africa do seem to make quite a good fist of things. They are entrepreneurial, they set up businesses, and this causes deep sense of resentment and jealousy by South Africans, and they become very, very easy targets. But of course, these sort of scenes where unruly rioting and looting just takes place over a period of days. 5 people are dead now, nearly 200 people arrested, really exposes how weak our crime-fighting institutions are in South Africa. And it just sort of adds fuel to the fire. And we have these sort of protests and civil unrest pop up constantly in South Africa in different parts of the country. The last few days have been the most notable, but really it is a constant pattern of behaviour, and it just exposes festering tensions that do rise and continue to rise.
Jane, thank you so much for that. Jane Flanagan reporting there for us from Cape Town.